My name is Mia Harper. I'm 35 years old and live in Seattle, Washington. 6 years ago, my husband Adam and I founded a strategic consulting firm called Bluegate Partners. Back then, we had nothing, just determination and a few modest connections in the industry. We worked day and night from our one-bedroom apartment, surviving on instant noodles, hoping that someday our names would be on the partnership lists of major corporations. I was the strategist, the one who wrote the plans, built the solutions, analyzed the markets. Adam had the charm, smooth talker, attractive, and knew how to make people feel at ease from the first handshake. I used to think we made the perfect team. 4 months ago, Bluegate was invited to present a restructuring strategy to VentureCore, a tech corporation seeking a long-term partner for a nationwide expansion plan. The project was so massive that winning the contract would catapult our company to a whole new level. I spent the entire summer researching, analyzing each branch and every line in their financial reports. Adam ran around having lunch with investors and delivering gift baskets to prospective clients. Or at least, that's what I believed. On a Saturday morning while cleaning the kitchen after a late breakfast, I accidentally bumped Adam's iPad on the counter. The screen lit up. A message appeared, still unlocked. She thinks she's gonna shine tomorrow. Once the proposal's sent, we'll take out the trash. Underneath it was a red heart emoji next to the name Rachel. Rachel. Adam's assistant. The woman I had once trusted to handle scheduling and presentation materials. She just transferred to Seattle 3 months ago after Adam had personally requested her from the Los Angeles office for her outstanding potential. I stared at the screen, my fingers unconsciously scrolling up. A thread of messages appeared. Mia stayed up until 2 a.m. just to double-check the slides. Perfect. The more exhausted she is, the more likely she'll slip. Tomorrow she'll bury herself. We'll be there to clean up the rest. I froze. My heart pounded so hard it hurt, but my face stayed still, like stone. Each word sliced across my skin like a blade. Not because Adam betrayed our marriage, but because he betrayed my intellect. He betrayed the years of effort I had poured into this company. They had been planning this for a while. A message from over a month ago showed Adam using my connections to meet with investors privately and raise capital under his own name. Rachel had even sent over a proposed new company structure, with Adam as the sole CEO after I was removed. Every step, every detail was cold, calculated. I carefully placed the iPad back like I'd never touched it. In the stillness of the kitchen, I could hear the blood rushing in my ears. Adam had left just minutes earlier to meet a lawyer about some paperwork. I used to think he was handling our business. Now I understood. He was preparing to push me out. I poured myself a glass of water, took small sips, and stared at the window. At the reflection of a woman with no illusions left. I whispered, "You're going to regret underestimating me." I set down the glass, dried my hands, and picked up my phone. From that moment forward, every move would be deliberate, like a chess game. Adam thought he was 3 steps ahead, but he had no clue I'd spent years studying his every move from the sidelines. I opened my contacts and scrolled to a name I hadn't called in 2 years. Elena Brooks, an attorney specializing in divorce and business ownership. We'd once worked on a client merger, and I never forgot how sharply she caught a buried clause in a 30-page contract that the other side tried to sneak through. "Brooks Law Firm, this is Elena." Her voice was crisp and direct. "Elena, this is Mia Harper. I need to meet with you, not as a former client." A short pause on the other end. "What did he do?" "I'll explain everything in detail, but in short, I have evidence my husband is plotting to steal our company and possibly drug me, emotionally or physically, during an upcoming meeting. Do you have copies of the equity agreements and investment records?" "I have a physical copy in the office safe and a digital backup in my personal drive. I need to prepare before he realizes I've found out. Meet me this afternoon at 4. Bring printouts and any recording devices you've used." I nodded as if she could see me. "Thank you." After hanging up, I opened my laptop and logged into Bluegate's storage system. Fortunately, I'd always kept a separate, annotated version of important documents. My own reference copy for every time Adam had asked me to tweak something minor before sending it out. I sent an email with a simple subject line: "Urgent ownership and cash flow review," to Sam Keller, our head accountant. The message read, Sam, I need a detailed financial report of Bluegate from January to now, including all personal withdrawals from the joint account. Signed contracts and budget allocations. Do not inform Adam. I'll explain everything in person. I knew Sam. He hated vagueness and hated being manipulated even more. With just one line from me, he'd get to work immediately. After that, I checked my phone. A message from Adam. I'll be back by early afternoon. Rachel might stop by to review some of the presentation files. I tightened my grip on the screen. Review was their word for check what Mia's up to. Fine. I opened a drawer and took out an old iPhone. Still working. I downloaded a recording app and labeled the file venturecore_draft PMP4, so if anyone stumbled upon it, they'd think it was just a practice session. I stuck a piece of double-sided tape to the back and placed it behind a bookshelf in our home office, where the signal was strongest, pointed directly at Adam's chair. I also changed my iCloud password and removed all device syncing with Adam's accounts. There would be no trace. On the surface, I was still the dutiful wife, loyal business partner. The woman about to present the most important pitch of her life. About an hour later, Adam came home. I heard the door open, the sound of his leather shoes on the hardwood floor. Mia, where are you? Upstairs, I answered calmly. I'm double-checking the Southwest region's analysis. Looks like they've adjusted their KPIs recently. He walked in, holding a paper bag from our usual coffee shop. Brought you a mocha. Light on the sugar, just how you like it. I took it, smiling. Thanks, that's thoughtful of you. The coffee smelled the same as always. But what I focused on wasn't the flavor in the cup. It was the flicker in Adam's eyes when I took that first sip. So quick no one else would have noticed, but I did. A glimmer of anticipation. He was waiting. Waiting for me to lose control. Waiting for me to ruin everything. I set the cup down on the table. 10 a.m. tomorrow, right? I asked. Yeah, Zoom meeting with VentureCore's execs and the investors. But don't worry, you'll do great. I turned to look at him. We'll do great, I said, light as air. Inside, I was already prepared. He had no idea I'd started gathering my pieces. And after tomorrow, there would be nowhere left for his plans to hide. The next morning, I woke up at 5:45. No alarm needed. My body rose on its own like it knew today would decide everything. The sky over Seattle was the usual dull gray, but inside me was a quiet, sharp storm. I meditated for 10 minutes, as I always did, then went to the bathroom with a mind so alert it startled me. No anxiety, no trembling, just razor focus. The meeting with VentureCore would begin at 10 a.m. via Zoom, with their full executive board and 3 reps from Altura Capital. My presentation had been backed up on 3 devices, cloud, local, and a separate USB just in case. Adam was already up. He was in the kitchen wearing the gray button-down I'd bought for him during a work trip to Denver. He had on an apron, holding a French press. The scent of dark roast coffee filled the air. Take a seat, babe, he said, his voice sugary sweet. I brewed the Guatemala blend, your favorite. You'll need all the energy you can get today. I walked to the table and sat on the wooden chair near the window. The soft morning light angled in just right, illuminating 2 matte black mugs. One said Mrs., the other, Mr. A matching set he'd given me the first year our company turned a profit. He placed the Mrs. mug in front of me, holding his own in his left hand. Careful, it's hot, he winked. I leaned in and took a sniff. It smelled normal, just how I liked it, bold but not bitter, no sweetness. But Adam's eyes, the way he glanced at me and then looked away too quickly. Not like usual. It felt like he was waiting for something to happen. I picked up the mug, brought it to my lips, but didn't drink. I let my mouth touch the ceramic, holding still as if I were sipping. My eyes flicked to his, and in that instant, I caught the gleam. Cold, sharp, and calculated. I set the mug down. Thank you, I said sweetly. The coffee today tastes special. Adam laughed. Maybe I doubled the grounds this time. Gotta fuel you up to crush it. I stood up, pretending to grab some documents from the kitchen counter. While he turned to check his laptop, I silently swapped the mugs. So smooth, no one would notice. I placed the Mrs. mug, now holding Adam's safe coffee, in front of my computer. His Mr. mug, the one with whatever he had prepped, now sat in his spot. 10 minutes later, we were in our shared office. Camera in position, lighting set, internet stable. I activated the recording app on the old iPhone I'd carefully hidden inside a document box on the bookshelf. At exactly 10 a.m., the Zoom screen came alive. Ventricore's logo and 6 video windows. CEO Peter Langston sat center, gray hair, serious expression. 2 operations directors flanked him. The investors from Altura Capital appeared in 3 separate windows, dressed sharply, faces unreadable. Adam started off. Thank you all for your time. We believe this strategy will help Ventricore maximize efficiency over the next 12 months. I sat still, watching. He was smooth through the first few lines. But by the 3rd sentence, I noticed his right hand tremble slightly. I blinked. There it was. He continued. First, the data shows that. He furrowed his brow, his eyes glassy as if he were trying to read through smoke. He swallowed hard, winced, and grabbed the coffee mug again, taking a long sip, then exhaled heavily. I tilted my head. Are you okay? I asked softly, just loud enough for everyone to hear. I'm just a little tired. I'm fine, he said, shaking his head with a forced smile. But his chin had started to quiver noticeably, and when he fumbled the slide clicker 3 times, skeptical glances began to appear on screen. I eased in. Would you mind if I presented the data integration section? I asked, my eyes on Peter. He nodded. Please. I stood up and pulled up the next slide. My voice was clear, each number explained with precision. The investors' expressions slowly shifted from confusion to interest. I could tell they were comparing me and the man next to me, drenched in cold sweat. Adam lowered his head, trying to focus, but that mug, his mug, filled by his own hand, was quietly dragging him out of the very game he thought he controlled. Peter Langston tilted his head slightly, his eyes narrowing at the unusual pauses in Adam's speech. Are you all right? He asked politely, though his tone had shifted into evaluation. Yes, it's just, I probably didn't sleep enough last night. Adam forced a smile, but his voice cracked, like a strained cord about to snap. I kept my gaze calm, face composed. He was up until almost 2 a.m. last night, making final tweaks to the analysis, I said gently, like a concerned wife, though every word had weight. Perhaps I should continue while he takes a few minutes to rest. Peter nodded. That sounds like a good idea. Adam started to speak up in protest, but at that very moment, he grabbed the edge of the table, his lips trembling slightly. He stood up, intending to walk toward the bathroom, but had to steady himself on the chair. He no longer looked like the sharp CEO he tried to be. In the eyes of our clients, he now appeared to be a man who had lost control of his body in the most important presentation of his career. I didn't wait. Next is the internal systems integration map. I spent 3 months researching each of Ventricore's functional segments for this, I said, smoothly advancing the slide. All attention shifted instantly to me. Jennifer Klein, the COO, leaned toward her camera and asked, Mia, where did you obtain this data? I've never seen an external evaluation this detailed. We engaged with 5 regional branches under a hypothetical model, using Q3 reports and direct feedback from technical team leads. I personally interviewed 7 individuals under strict confidentiality, I replied. Jennifer gave a satisfied nod. That's impressive. I moved to the next slide. Here are the factors slowing down contract processing. Just within technical support alone, Ventricore is losing close to $3.2 million annually due to task redundancy and procedural misalignment across regions. Peter raised his eyebrows. Is that number accurate? Down to the line, I answered firmly. I cross-referenced every transaction sample with systems from 3 companies of comparable structure. Bluegate Partners doesn't just offer solutions, we quantify impact and implementation timelines. As I continued presenting, Adam returned. Face pale, lips drained of color. He sat down wordlessly, eyes fixed on me as if he didn't recognize the woman leading the meeting, like a true executive. There was no hesitation, no misstep, Just calm command and precision in every word. Now, in terms of investment costs, I continued, we're proposing a 3-phase model. Initial costs come in at just 28% of the industry average, with the potential to reduce operating expenses by 18% within the first 6 months. Margaret Wynne, one of the 3 investors from Altura Capital, who had remained quiet until then, finally spoke. What kind of assurance can you give us on timeline monitoring? We use a dual-layer reporting model, I emphasized. Each phase has independent oversight and I personally supervise the progress at every major milestone. Peter looked at me, then glanced at Adam slouched in his chair. You're the one directly managing the projects? I designed the entire strategy, I said softly, so I stay involved from start to finish. Jennifer gave a small nod. No wonder the proposals are so deep. Nothing about this feels surface level. I smiled in acknowledgement. Toward the end of the meeting, Peter looked into the camera and said, I think we've seen enough. Bluegate is clearly one of the most promising candidates. I replied gently, Thank you, Mr. Langston. We're ready to begin whenever Ventricore is. After the video windows began closing one by one, Adam still sat motionless. He buried his face in his hands. What just happened? He mumbled. I stood up, walked out, picked up the old phone with the recording still running, and smiled. Where he couldn't see me. As the door clicked shut behind the final "leave meeting" tone, I didn't allow myself even a second to relax. Adam remained at the table, hunched over, fingers interlocked like he was trying to hold on to the last scrap of control. But that control was already mine. Every step, every detail had gone exactly as I planned. I grabbed my phone, stepped out onto the balcony and called Elena Brooks, the attorney I'd reached out to earlier. Brooks speaking, she answered on the second ring. I have a full audio recording of the meeting. Clear footage showing Adam unable to maintain awareness or coherent speech in front of 6 stakeholders. I also have evidence that the coffee he gave me was swapped. Substance involved? I don't know what exactly, but if that mug is tested, I'm sure something will come up. More importantly, I have video, messages, and proof that he intended to remove me from the company. Elena's voice was as cold and sharp as always. Good. Send everything to my secure email. I'll file for an emergency business asset protection order with the court this afternoon, along with a petition citing corporate sabotage. I ended the call. Standing there on the balcony, staring at the gray skyline of Seattle, I clenched the railing. It was only 2 p.m. The day was still long and I had more work to do. I returned to my office, opened my laptop and began drafting an email to Peter Langston, CEO of Ventricore. Subject: Thank you and a few personal notes. Dear Mr. Langston, thank you and your team for your valuable time during this morning's presentation. I deeply appreciate the positive feedback from you and the investors. I'm writing to you personally to share that a few internal matters have emerged within Bluegate Partners, which may affect the current leadership structure. However, I want to assure you that this will not impact our ability to execute the project, nor my personal commitment to Ventricore. Every piece of information I shared in the presentation was researched, developed, and prepared entirely by me. I remain fully ready to serve as your direct point of contact if you deem appropriate. Sincerely, Mia Harper, co-founder, Bluegate Partners. No need for many words. Peter was smart enough to read between the lines. I didn't have to physically remove Adam from his seat. Professionalism and results did that. Next, I logged into the corporate banking system. The company account was jointly held, but I could still prove the personal funds I invested. I had kept separate receipts, transfer slips, and even email confirmations of additional capital contributions during our 3rd year of operation. I opened a new business account under my name, at a different brand branch but within the same banking system. In the notes section I wrote, Temporary transfer, personal assets invested in the business not yet recouped. The amount I transferred wasn't large, just about $120,000, but it was enough to create a clear boundary between my assets and the shared assets Adam was about to try to cling to. Once done, I called Sam Keller, the chief accountant. Sam, I need you to do something urgent, I said, my tone serious. I need a cash flow statement, profit analysis, and the contribution of each founding member of Bluegate from 2018 to now. You must not inform Adam. Send it directly to me via a secure link." Sam was silent for a few seconds. "What's going on, Mia?" "I'll tell you later once you have the statement. Trust me, this time it's about the company's survival and the truth." Sam sighed. "All right, I'll get started right away." I hung up, leaning back in my chair. A question echoed in my mind. Why did Adam think I wouldn't notice? Why did he think the woman who built an entire corporate strategy system couldn't see through a flimsy betrayal plan? Perhaps because he was too used to me standing behind the scenes, used to me not demanding the spotlight. But what Adam didn't understand was that I didn't need the light. I only needed results. And now, as I was gradually separating myself from him legally, transparently, and firmly, he would have nothing left to rely on but the hollow words he once used to mask his true capabilities. Just 3 weeks after the meeting with Ventricore, everything around Adam collapsed faster than any plan he had ever conceived. On the first Monday of the month, I officially filed for divorce at the King County Court, along with a file over 80 pages thick, including copies of messages between Adam and Rachel, the recording of the meeting showing his clear decline, screenshots of the document revision history that I had nearly handled alone, and especially the clip of Adam placing the coffee cup in front of me on that fateful morning. The coffee that contained the substance that made him blur his vision in front of the entire investment community. Elena Brooks presented the file to the judge as if reading an indictment in a high-level fraud case. Even Adam's lawyer, a person who had represented several well-known CEOs, had to request a pause in the hearing after 20 minutes to consult with the client. In the waiting room, Adam sat with his head against the wall, hands covering his face, while his lawyer looked down at his phone, quietly opening a job search app. 4 days later, Adam signed the divorce papers and the agreement to withdraw from the company with only one condition: to retain symbolic shares and not be criminally prosecuted. I agreed. Not because I was soft-hearted, but because I knew keeping him as a useless name in the company records would only prolong his embarrassment. Bluegate Partners was quickly re-registered with me as the sole CEO with full legal representation and asset management authority. Sam Keller, the chief accountant, submitted a report confirming I was the main investor from the second year, and also signed all major strategic contracts. As for Adam, in less than a month, all the investment relationships he had tried to maintain through wine parties and hollow compliments had withdrawn. Altura Capital refused to sign any contracts bearing his name. One of the investors even directly messaged my email, "We only work with people who truly know what they're talking about." As for Rachel Weston, Adam's special assistant, everything ended even faster. Right after I sent the message thread and internal document access history from Rachel's company email to the HR department, she was asked to hand over her laptop, phone, and leave the office within an hour. 4 days later, a complaint about data security violations and intellectual property infringement was sent by me to the Washington State Financial Planning Licensing Board. Within 12 days, Rachel's professional license was suspended and the investigation process began. A person who once dreamed of running the company with Adam now couldn't work in the industry for at least the next 5 years. I didn't feel joy seeing their downfall, only relief, as if the room had finally been cleared of toxic smoke, allowing light to enter. One afternoon, Adam came to the old office, unannounced. I was in a meeting with the new project team. He stood in the hallway, not entering. His face was thinner, hair disheveled, eyes sunken. He extended his hand, hesitating. "I just wanted to say sorry." I looked at him for a long time. "What are you apologizing for, Adam?" I asked. "Poisoning me? Or trying to take away the career I built with blood and sleepless nights?" He lowered his face, hand withdrawn. "I don't know. I thought I could control everything. But I misjudged you." I nodded slightly. "You're not the first to do that." Then I turned away, closing the door behind me. No more words were needed. His story ended there, with a closed door and a man lost amidst what was once the illusion of power. As for me, I continued. 6 months later, I sat alone in the conference room on the 18th floor of the new Office Horizon Plaza building overlooking Elliott Bay. The sunset light streamed through the thick glass, casting a gentle golden hue on the walnut wood table, where the latest quarterly report of Bluegate Partners lay. 212 pages. Each number in it was the result of a journey I had walked alone after everything. Since the day Adam stepped down, I've had full control of the company. The partnership with VentureCore didn't just go smoothly, it exceeded all expectations. Within the first 4 months, their internal performance improved by 22%, while they saved nearly $3.8 million in operational costs, exactly as outlined in the model I proposed during that meeting. 3 senior executives from VentureCore, including Peter, Langston, and Langston, sent me personal thank you emails, along with invitations to expand the partnership into their Chicago and Phoenix branches. When I signed the second contract with them, Peter said one sentence I'll never forget. "I've never seen someone lead with such sharpness and kindness at the same time." I offered a quiet smile in return. I didn't need to answer. Results had already spoken for me. Within 6 months, Bluegate Partners expanded by 40% and brought on 3 senior professionals, a data analyst from San Francisco, a former tech director from a recently acquired startup, and a legal expert in corporate contracts. Each was someone I once dreamed of hiring, but never thought I'd be able to recruit so quickly. We also signed 2 more major contracts, one with a retail chain expanding across the West Coast, and one with an educational organization undergoing a full data transformation. I personally supervised each project during the first 3 months before handing them over to dedicated teams. Everything ran flawlessly. Adam never reappeared. I heard he tried starting a new consulting firm, but with no partners, no capital, and most importantly, no reputation. After that failed attempt, he disappeared from the industry radar. As for Rachel, she left Seattle, her LinkedIn profile was deactivated, and her professional license remained suspended pending further investigation. On late nights after the office lights had gone off, I'd often stay a few extra minutes. Not to work, just to look around. To take in the space I rebuilt piece by piece. To look at the chair Adam once sat in, now belonging to a 27-year-old female strategist I recently hired. To look at the nameplate Mia Harper-CEO etched in glass. Not as a display of pride, but as a quiet reminder that I reclaimed everything once at risk. And strangely, I didn't feel bitter anymore. I felt light, as if the storm had passed and now all I had to do was lift my head and see the blue sky. One May morning, while sipping coffee on the office balcony, I received a new email. "We would like to nominate Ms. Mia Harper for the 2025 Innovative Leadership in Small Business Award, Seattle Business Circle." Some people once thought I was just a shadow, the support role, the seat beside the public face. But in the end, it was that very person who handed me the opportunity to prove the opposite, through his own betrayal. Now that everything is finally in place, I stayed silent. My story didn't begin with victory, it began with betrayal. My story didn't begin with victory, it began with betrayal. But the moment I was underestimated became the very opening that allowed me to rise and take control on my own terms. I didn't need loud revenge, I only needed truth and success to speak for me. In this fiercely competitive world, the biggest lesson I've learned is this: when you know your worth, no one can take it from you. And sometimes silence is the loudest response of all. What do you think of Mia's choices and how she overcame it all? Share your thoughts in the comments. And don't forget to follow the channel so you won't miss more inspiring stories about life, marriage, and family.